Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Jalila binti Juano. My metric number is AF180058. Background of the project. So, our group are in charge to make a report regarding the hazard and risk assessment during the roadwork construction process. Problem statement. In this report, we provide a risk assessment prior to the commencement of the roadwork construction, recommendation of the appropriate risk control to ensure the safety and health of workers while performing their works and to prevent an accidents. Objective of the project. First, to analyze and predict any possible hazard that may occur during the roadwork. Second, based on the least hazard, the most critical safety and health hazard will be determined. And lastly, suggestion and discussion regarding the control measure to eliminate the hazard and reduce the risk of post-critical hazard. Hazard identification. Hazard identification is to emphasize the important operation of tasks or those tasks that can cause major risk to employees' health and safety, as well as hazard associated with specific equipment due to energy sources, working condition or activities performed. Hierarchy of control. A hierarchy of hazard control is a step-by-step method used in the workplace to lessen hazard exposure. It is started by elimination, and then substitution, engineering control, administrative control, and PPE.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Zambi Jamaluddin. So now I'm going to discuss about the methodology of our project. So in our methodology, we discuss about how we are going to do the HIRARC. So in this HIRARC process, first that we need to do is classing of work activity. We need to identify whether it is a chemical hazard, safety hazard, or health hazard. And after that, after we have known the work activity classes, we identify the hazard, and then we do the risk assessment. And the last steps is to determine whether the risk is acceptable and whether risk control needed to be established. Then we see the rate of the severity and likelihood. So as you can see from the figure, from the table, the likelihood and the severity rate is 1 to 5, and we multiply both of them and we can get the highest ratio is 25 and the lowest ratio is 1. So based on the statement, high risk needs immediate attention to control the hazard. For medium risk, needs a mild approach or temporary control of hazard. And for the low risk, need not to do any approach as it is within acceptable risk. However, if there are any control risks available, it is better to do so. So likelihood rate is 1 to 5. So each of them has a very particular statement. For example, for a very high likelihood rate, the accident will highly be likely to happen. For high, the accident likely to be happen. Predictable can occur in the predictable future. Rare cannot determine whether it can happen in the future. Very rarely, impossible or never happen. For severity rate, catastrophe, lots of death and property damage that result the production on whole. Fatal, one death, huge property damage. Serious, not fatal but permanent disability. Major, resulting to disability but not permanent. Minor, resulting minor injuries that can be treated using first aid kit. So these are the guidance that we use to determine whether the activity is highly risk or medium risk or low risk. That's all.
My name is Nur Hakimah binti Muhammad Yusof, AF180214. Now I'm going to talk about the HIRARC table of the roadwork of the construction. Generally, this HIRARC table shows the hazard identification, risk analysis, and risk control of the activity focusing on the roadwork of the construction. The assessment includes the identification of the work activities at the construction site, the hazard for each activity, and the existing control is identified to propose the effects obtained from the hazard. In addition, the rate of likelihood and severity of each hazard available during the construction process is tabulated in the column provided to know the critical risk level. There are 10 listed work activities in this table, which include 1 critical health hazard, which is exposure of chemical hazards, and 1 critical safety hazard, which is electrocution.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Munira binti Razwan and my matric number is AF180093. I want to present about the discussion for critical health hazard. Based on the HIRARC table, the most critical health hazard at process of roadwork is exposure to chemical hazardous substance. For example, the worker are handling with sands, aggregates, hot asphalt and organic solvent. Excessive exposure to this substance may effect in workers' illness, injury, and permanent disability or even death. The mix of asphalt includes the mix of bitumen with mineral aggregate through intake. Thus, this application process of bitumen exerts high risk of fatal and non-fatal injury and disease. So, the recommended control measure first is use work wet with integrate water to the road construction. There are a number of strategies that can be used to produce worker exposure to the hot emission of the bitumen mixing. Next, each crate must keep the maximum temperature as low as possible. Third is individual company can do an initiative including improve safety datasheet advice. Lastly is the temperature of bitumen. Lower temperature binders can achieve in a variety of ways.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Syakir Kharafi bin Syaiful Azman. Now, I will explain about the critical safety hazard that we got from our project. So, the critical safety hazard is accident involved with electrocutions. So, the operating while using crane and excavating digging by using backhoe or excavator. So, according to the Ahmad, which is in their journal, Hazard and Risk of Highway Maintenance Work, the risk assessment metric is 60.10 level, which is the higher level than the other accident. So the highest risk during the highway building operation. So there is support that our project that accident involved electrocution is the critical safety hazard. So this is the example. The cranes touch the high voltage power line, and second is the line line underground, which is excavator accidentally touched it when the digging operation. This is the method, the how to control it. So the first is project manager must hire the competent operator and make sure the operator work with the optimum time and limit to avoid them from the exhausted and laxity. Second, all the other workers must wear the right PPE, mainly safety boot. So especially to the worker nearby the machines. So that's all from me. Thank you. Drop it like it's hot. I'm a nice dude with some nice dreams. See these ice cubes. See these